Okay, welcome everybody. As people roll in, I'll introduce myself. Leonardo Bonanni, I'm the founder and CEO at Sourcemap, and I'm really happy to be kicking off this fourth edition of our Supply Chain Transparency Conference today. I know people are going to be rolling in for the next 10 minutes or so before our first panel, so I'll just make a few brief introductory remarks. Great. Well, look, so we started this conference in back in 2021, in the middle of a pandemic. Marissa Brock and I, and it was a whole different world. It was before the U.S. really stepped up enforcement of the forced labor ban. It was before the European deforestation regulation and this whole new level of supply chain transparency where you have to map every farm, every forest. It was before CSRD and CS really made their way through legislation, and now that we have them firmly on the horizon. So it was a whole different world when we started this conference 3 years ago. Uh, I think what really changed is this idea of responsible sourcing, right? I think most of you already know, but CSR didn't used to belong to procurement. And with responsible sourcing, we have this new normal where suppliers can't just be selected on the basis of cost and performance. They have to be selected on the basis of social and environmental practices and compliance. And in a way, supply chain transparency becoming regulated is very good for companies that have a responsible sourcing function because it levels the playing field. Now, almost anybody who wants to do business in Europe or in the US has to have responsible sourcing. They have to combine their sourcing decisions with compliance with environmental and social regulations. Um, a whole bunch has changed in the last few years, right? We see new industries mapping their supply chains down to the raw materials, especially industries like automotive and retail, electronics, pharmaceuticals that weren't doing that before these became regulated. We also have new people at the table, right? Within every company, it's not just the job of sustainability and CSR to map the supply chain. Now it's become legal and compliance, government affairs. It's also become part of sales and marketing and how a company positions themselves to gain access to these lucrative markets. Um, there's also obviously new technology. That's why I'm here. Uh, this level of responsible sourcing that's being regulated, it wouldn't be possible without new technology. So obviously there's the mapping and traceability systems that Sourcemap is known for. They've just had to become way more robust and powerful because now we're not just mapping some of the supply chain, we're mapping every shipment every day. And that's a huge amount of data. And all of that data has to have an audit trail to be able to pass muster for the regulators. But we also have a whole suite of service providers now that make responsible sourcing even more robust. Right? We have companies that offer testing services. We have certifiers, we have auditors, we have system integrators that are bringing all these solutions together into one integrated responsible sourcing system. And then for the first time, right, supply chain transparency is actually digital. The governments on both sides of the Atlantic are building portals that will be collecting supply chain mapping data in a digital format automatically as part of entry onto the markets through customs. And that's a huge shift, which means no more doing it by hand. There's just too much data, too much volume, too much verification going on. Uh, and then last but not least, even AI is playing a role in scaling responsible sourcing. And we'll go over that in one of the sessions later today. So as you know, every year SourceMap brings together experts from industry, from tech, from the public sector. And we're trying to give you really practical insights, actionable tools for implementing supply chain transparency. You get to hear from people who've done it, who've been doing it, and who are at the forefront of responsible sourcing.